want to talk about how we could add the Leprechaun from the Leprechaun films into Dead by Daylight. So there'll probably be a drawing of, sorry, looking at all this here. There'll be a drawing of the Leprechaun himself. There'll be a drawing of the two survivors I actually designed for this, like, theoretical expansion I created. I do have drawings for all the abilities and items that would go along, but I opted to not draw them because I had already taken a ton of time to draw out the survivors and the leprechaun, and I did it on paper first, and then I went and I did it in a digital format. So we'll probably, if you want to see that, let me know. I can always throw those up, but there will be a drawing of the killer and the two survivors that I came up with. And I might do another video like this because I have a few other ideas that I've been tossing around as well. So if we're adding in the leprechaun, we have the power for him. So as the gold coins power, you get quantity of 3 of them. So you can teleport between them. When you teleport to them, there's a slight stun. For each gold coin you have on the map, you're going to get a decrease on your time between getting Bloodlust and a small speed boost while in Bloodlust. You cannot pick up the coins until a survivor picks them up. So once you drop the coin and set it in place, it's there until a survivor picks one up. For each one picked up, you lose your percentage that you get for the Bloodlust and the speed boost. You can get it back once you get the coin and then put it back down. And also you get a faster recovery when you're hit with a pallet on your recovery from that stun and from being blinded by a flashlight. For the first perk, we have Out of Luck, which is upon hooking a survivor for however many seconds, so it'd be 5, 10, or 15 seconds. Oh no, for the first perk, it'd be in intervals of 10 seconds. So first perk, upon hooking a survivor for 10, 20, or 30 seconds, not hitting a great skill check will cause regression on the actions. So this will work against gens and healing, and it makes the skill check slightly faster, and the sound cue will be slightly delayed. For perk 2, I have I'll Not Rest Till I Have My Gold. What this does is it creates small bursts of inconsistent scratch marks that appear even when you're walking or crouching, and this would happen in intervals of 5, 10, and 15 seconds depending on what tier it's in. For perk number 3, I have Try As They Will, which is after kicking a generator, you get a small speed boost for 5, 10, or 15 seconds. And this one kind of already pre-balanced itself with the new update we had that keeps killers from 3-genning by only having X amount of kicks per gen. I believe it's 8. For the add-ons, we have Worn Shoe. There's 3 tiers to this, but it decreases the travel time between coins and causes a hindered effect. So getting from one coin to the next, it decreases, but the hindered effect extends slightly. And then we have Onassis' Finger, which gives you an extra gold coin. We have the Medallion, which increases speed from haste and increases your terror radius. Then I have the Golden Flute with 3 tiers. It decreases your terror radius for 5, 10, and 15 seconds after teleporting. Then Vegas Chips comes with 3 different tiers to it, but it has 2 effects, and it will randomly kick off. So upon teleporting, you can get a small speed boost, or upon teleporting, you get an audio cue of where the survivors are, but experience another extension on your stun. And it would decrease the stun time by 15 or by 10, 5 or less seconds. Still working on how long that would last. Then I have Pot of Gold. There's 3 tiers to that. It reduces the cooldown between teleporting between gold coins. For each tier, it would reduce slightly faster. Space Gems reduces haste debuffs when the coins are taken away. The Leprechaun's Coins gives an audio alert when someone is near gold coins or within X amount of meters away. And there'd be 3 tiers to that, so it'd be like 5, 10, 15 meters away. Probably smaller increments of space, but like that's just like the general idea. Now to get on to the survivors. I added 2 survivors to this one because I kind of wanted to go big on this. I do have drawings for all this. In the video I'll probably only have the drawing of the killer and the 2 survivors. If you guys want to see more, I will illustrate the rest of them, and if you want to see them, let me know. I can make a whole separate thing and show you guys all the drawing I did, because I sketched it all on paper first, and I kind of went and illustrated second because I'm better at drawing on pen and paper, and then refining it with the iPad. But for the first survivor, I have Nathan Murphy. For perk 1, we have Contractor's Craft. Can rebuild destructible walls by X amount of seconds. There's an X amount of second cooldown. So perk 1, Contractor's Craft can rebuild destructible walls. So when they kick that wall down, he can go back, rebuild it, and then there's it'll be a 30, 20, 10 second cooldown. 30, 20, 15 second cooldown, depending on the tier you have. We could probably work on that timing a little bit more as well. I want it to be usable, but not like a constant thing that's going on to the point where it's unfun for killers. Then for perk 2, I have Buckshot. For every, we'll say like 15, 20, 30 seconds, you can enter a locker and craft a Buckshot that you can throw at the killer and create a hindered effect on them and delay their bloodlust. And for perk 3, we have Handyman, can touch a regressing generator and freeze its regression. So not stop it, but freeze where it's at regress-wise for 10, 15, 20 seconds. And this is on a 30-second cooldown, and as you go up in tiers, it would decrease. So maybe 30, 25, 20. Then for our second survivor, we would have Tori Redding. Perk 1, shopping spree of the base walking speed would be increased by 15, 20, or 30%. For perk 2, we have Tech Wizard. Base gen completion speed is increased by 5%. If you complete a gen, you get a stack, and for each stack, it goes up by another 2%. But once you're hooked, you lose your stacks. So you always can complete the gens a little bit faster, but you get stacks for each one that you complete. And but once you're hooked, those stacks go away. So I feel like that's kind of like a fun one where you're either going to be just staying on gens, or you got to be really good at getting chased. And then cover your tracks. Anytime you would set off a sound alert, you delay the alert by 5, 10, or 15 seconds, and this also has a 15, 20, and 30-second cooldown. So I feel like the Buckshot one I think is kind of fun, adding that locker mechanic. We have that with the flashbang, and this would be like another one. It wouldn't be blinding. It also wouldn't allow for like people to like. You wouldn't be able to do like a save with it, like a flashlight save or anything of that nature. But it would slow the killer down. It'd be a way to kind of escape chases. The Contractor's Craft one is one I'm particularly proud of because I kind of like the idea of rebuilding things that you can break down as a killer. I think that it could be a little too survivor biased if the cooldown isn't long enough, but also it could be completely worthless and not used if it doesn't have a decent cooldown. So you want to be able to have it be used like at least 2 or 3 times in a match, or 2 or 3 times in your standard match. Of course, some matches go longer than others, and in that one it might get used more, but you want to kind of build this on what your standard match looks like. So I feel like the 15, 20, 30-second cooldown might be pretty solid. Your average match is probably like, I don't know, like around the 10-minute mark. So I feel like you would get more use up, but it's not like you're kicking down a ton of walls. And this would only really be strong on certain maps, but it still would be fun on all the maps. And then Handyman, we kind of stopped gen tapping, and I respect that. But I think it'd be cool if there was a perk that allowed you to freeze the regression, but like if you ignored it long enough, it would just go back to regressing. So it would kind of add that, like, all right, I touched this gen, I need to now communicate to the team that, all right, that gen you were working on, I touched it, it's frozen, but you only have X amount of seconds to go and fix it before it starts regressing again. So it kind of creates like this like sort of play on, especially the 3 gen. I mean, I know that they kind of broke the 3 gen up by adding only 8 kicks per gen, but this kind of adds another layer of like pressure to the game and kind of forces a little bit more, like it forces people to sort of expand out for how they're playing. And then the base walking speed one, I just feel like we haven't had a good base walking speed thing. And I tried to keep everything I added. So I looked through the films. I've watched the Leprechaun movies many, many times. So when building these characters, one I binged through all the movies again. Um, so that was like the first thing I did. So I was like, if I'm gonna make this killer go into the game, I have to do my homework. So that's why like I would want to do this again, but it wouldn't be a weekly thing because I do a lot of research when I make these. I went through, I watched the movies, and I did their Wikipedia pages, and I read through the Wikipedia pages, and I read through them again, and then I read through IMDb, and I read through Wikipedia. So I was looking for characteristics or things that they were identified by. So everything I put in here ties into the character specifically. So I wanted to make sure that like everything I added, it had to have a purpose. So that's why I kind of gave the walking speed thing to Tori Redding was because one of the things that they mentioned in her page specifically is that she enjoyed shopping and technology. Um, but also kind of like cover your tracks. And I remember in the film, she plays a big role in their escape. Clearly, she's the main character, one of the main characters in the first film. Um, and then, so I just wanted to make sure that's what the third one I kind of went off the script a bit to give her something more fun, but I kind of wanted to play into what their strengths were. Nathan Murphy was a house painter and contractor. He uses a shotgun in the film, which is where buckshot comes from, contractor's craft, and then being a handyman. So I was trying to make sure to build this around that. Like Space Gems comes from the Leprechaun in space movie. So I had to make sure if I was building these characters that it had to make sense for their film as well. So I was hoping I'm hoping that this kind of would work out well. I think it would work out well. I think these would be fun additions to the game if we were to bring them in. But here's where I get your guys' opinion.